Okay, so we have our rough draft ground plan where we figured out where we want our scenery to be. It's now time to take your rough draft and transfer it onto your scaled full-size ground plan. Remember, our scale is 1/4 inch equals a foot. This is our guide. You may have to change some things as you go along, and you realize, oh, that wall needs to be bigger or it needs to be smaller. So be aware that most times this doesn't transfer exactly as your rough draft has it. It's like a rough draft for any paper. They're similar, but they're not identical. Okay, I've got my T-square, and I'm going to need my compass for a little bit later. So, first thing I want to do, I want to locate these walls for Tom and for Judy's apartment. So, if this is 3 feet wide for my door, 1, 2, so I'm probably about 8 feet back. So, on your scale rule, there it is. See, 1/4 inch equals a foot, or just on a regular ruler. See, here's my scale. 1/4 inch equals a foot. Now you can also use just a regular ruler that I dropped on the floor. So, I'm going to come back 8 feet. This particular ruler, 0, doesn't start at the edge. So I line up that, and I look at 8 feet. Okay. So, I can probably go back 10 feet and still have plenty of room. So, 10 feet in scale would be 2.5 inches. So I've made my mark. Now remember, if you're drafting with a ruler, you're going to need to measure that 10 feet in 2 places to get your straight line. So I have my T-square in place. And, okay. Probably 8 feet wide. So I've lined up my ruler or my scale right here on my sight line, and I'm just going to draw over to 0. Now I'm going to come over here to the same side because these 2 back walls are on the same distance from the proscenium. So there's Tom's wall, there's Judy's wall. Now I need the side walls. This is going to be easier to just freehand. Now I could follow the sight line exactly. The problem with that is, here where it meets the proscenium, there might end up being a gap. So, if I kick my wall out so it's a little bit behind the proscenium, I'm going to make it so my audience members can't sit there and look backstage. So, there's the side wall for Judy's. And now we come over to Tom's, and we do the same thing. Hold your ruler nice and tight so it doesn't move as you are drafting. Now, I do need to remember, anything that's on the offstage side of my sight line, my audience is going to have a hard time seeing. So, my chair over here, anything I put past that line is going to disappear. So, I don't want to put, like, the door to the apartment there. I'm planning on putting my door on the back wall that's flat so I can see it. If I wanted to put my door here, I'd need to pull this down and get it onto the sight line so it would show. Okay, so I've got my side wall and my back wall. Got my back wall and my side wall. I need to drop in my doors. Doors in America are basically 3 feet wide. Now, I do want to keep my door closer to the corner of my room because that's going to make my sight angles easier. Now, I don't want to start it with it in the corner of the room because houses aren't built that way. So I'm going to come 1 foot from the corner of my room, make a mark. Now, I could line up a whole inch on that mark, and that's going to be 3/4 of an inch. So 1, 2, 3/4. So I've got my 2 little marks there. Now I just need to draw in the door. Remember, a door looks like a rectangle with one side of the line dotted. So really short vertical on both of these walls. Okay, I'm going to come over here and do the same thing on this side. Here I'm going to use the scale rule because it's just as easy. So there's 1 foot from the corner, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, why did I move my ruler? Because I was on the wrong scale. So 3, 2, 1, 0. There's the other side of my door. And again, just a short little straight line. And this is so tiny that you can freehand it. Use your ruler. You don't have to have double points to find that. If we were working in a larger scale, you'd want to measure both sides. Now the opening is dotted. Come over here, do the same thing. Okay, so there are my doors. The only thing that's missing is the actual door. Remember, in carpentry and construction, we call that a shutter. So my door should be the same size as my opening. So there's my 3 foot, and I've drawn it to where it touches the wall. Because at some point, that door is going to slip out of somebody's hand, and we want to make sure that it, how far will it go before it actually stops. So there's my 2 doors. Include your little directional arrow that shows the swing. We're going to have these swing off stage because that keeps them more open. Now, we go back to our rough draft. I've got Tom's drawn in. I've got Judy's drawn in. Not going to deal with furniture yet. I want to get the big things in place. So that leaves this area in the center of the stage for Mama's apartment. Okay. Now, from the edge of Judy's wall here, all the way across here, I've got 18 feet. So I've got plenty of space. I'm going to come in 3 feet off of Tom's apartment. So 18, 17, 16, 15. Make a little dot. Come over here to Judy's. 3 feet in. And then I'm going to check my measurements. How much space do I have here? Okay, that's 12 feet. That should be plenty large enough for Tom and Judy's apartment. Now, remember I said it was 12 feet wide. So, half of 12 is 6. Okay. So I've measured from my center line and from my center line. And there are my two sets of dots. So now I can draw my verticals. Now remember, you want to draw lightly. And I'm going to, draw these a little bit longer than I need them, because I don't know the exact size that I want this platform yet. So I'm going to give myself some room to experiment. I think it'll be either 12 or 16 feet in depth. Okay. Now, see, my platform overlaps the wall for Tom's here. My platform, sticks forward a little bit. So I want to formalize that measurement. And where I made that initial mark is pretty close to where that wall would actually hit. So I'm going to bring this 2 feet down. So there's the front of my platform. Move that out of the way. Try to do single strokes. Now I know I'm over, so I'm just going to slide my ruler down a little bit and use it as a guard so that I erase what I want to erase, but I don't have to go back and draw or redraw what I need to keep. Remember, anytime you erase, make sure that all that eraser is off your paper before you start moving your rulers around. You'll smudge. Okay. So, back to my scale. 1/4 inch equals a foot. So here's 10 feet from the front edge. And there's 12. 12 is going to be fine. So grab my pencil and make sure that everything's lined up. Make sure my 12 is on that front line so my measurements are accurate. Put that out of the way. And just a single stroke. Now I pulled the ruler down because it's a little easier for me, to use it as a mask. And I'm just going to erase what I don't need. So, here is my platform for Mama's. Now if we go back to our drawing, that door is center. Now my door looks, wider than 3 feet. So I might have been thinking that this platform would only be an 8 foot rather than 12 foot. I'm going to keep my door at 3 feet. My center line divides stuff in half. And, I could put it in the center, or I could change my measurements a little bit and make it a little more off center. Since I've got to have an archway for the hallway that goes to her bedroom and bathroom, I'm going to throw the door off. Remember, this is a rough draft. There is no fault going, hey, I think I've got a better idea, and trying that. It's a pencil line. If you don't like it, that's why they invented erasers. So I've marked my door. I've put it over on the stage right side. Now, do I want my door right here at the back of the platform? Probably not. It's going to be easier for the actors, the performers, if there is some space for that actor to stand, so that they're not having to step up and into the set. So I am going to drop that down because I've got plenty of room. Remember, we drew this at 10 feet. So, I'm sorry, 12 feet. So I'm going to give my actor 2 feet of space to stand behind the wall. Now, you could be going, oh man, but you already made those marks. Now you have to remeasure. No, I just have to be careful. So get your ruler and, line it up. Take a moment. Look at what you're doing. Find a whole inch and line it up with the back of your platform. And if that line is straight, that's on the ruler, if it's straight with the line you've drawn, then you're going to have a line, the line that you're about to draw is going to be pretty close to perpendicular. And that's what we want. If you look at it and you go, oh, that's not perpendicular, then that's when you need to erase and redo. We're not working with drafting tables. We're making this work, at your house. So, we know that things are going to be a little out of kilter. That's okay. Your best work. So there's my door. Now, does mean that the swing of my door is going to be a little odd. It's not going to, it's going to open all the way, but it's going to touch that wall. It's going to seem like it's more in that corner. And if you decided to put your play in New York, where apartments are small, that's going to be fine. Okay, so there's my door. I need some side walls for Mama's house. Now, you'd be really tempted to make them match the side of the platform. And, in reality, they probably will. But we need everybody to see them. So I'm going to leave them just a scooch away from the side of the platform so I can see a little bit of daylight there. The technical director will probably go, hey, can we just make these work, match the side? And that would be fine. I have drawn these guys a little bit darker so that there's some distinguishment from the wall and the platform. Okay, I need Mom's door here. Remember, I've got to have a hallway. Now, it's not actually going to be a door. I just said it was. But it's going to be an arch. And, whenever you're using a scale rule, check and make sure that you've got the right scale before you start to draw. It's an easy mistake to make. Again, I'm going to drop down a foot from that corner. So there's one side of my door. And, 3 feet wide. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Now, I'm going to draw my arch off stage. This doesn't sit on your drawing paper well because of how it's beveled, so you really don't want to use that to draw. You guys remember we have triangles in the classroom, so I keep my T-square square to the table. And there's my arch. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to extend these lines. Because remember, this platform is up off the floor. So Mama needs some way to get up to that platform. Okay. Tread, the amount that we step on, works really good at a foot. You know, somewhere between 9 inches wide and a foot wide. On a small scale like 1/4 inch, I would use a foot because it's just easier to mark off. So, there are my steps. And again, I've got a triangle, so I'm going to use that to make my 90-degree lines. Now, if you don't have a triangle, you're just going to measure that 1 foot over on the other side of the steps. And here's my last one. Keep my triangle in place. Erase what I don't need. You know, the drawing paper is a lot more forgiving than drafting paper. Drafting paper is translucent because in order for them to make a copy called a blueprint, it takes a lot of light and it has to go through the paper because you're taking a photo of it. So, I need to draw the front of my arch for Mama's house. Well, no, I've got it there. So, 6, 12, 18, 24, 26. So, my platform is plus 26, that's not right. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, plus 30 inches. Okay, I want to keep this top step the same height as my platform. It'll make it easier for the performers. Okay, come back to your rough draft. Got my door, got my arch, got my stairs, got Judy's door, got her side wall. Same thing with Tom's. Now I need to drop in furniture. Okay, Tom's is going to be sort of a big, masculine, overstuffed chair, about 2 feet square. And then a smaller, square coffee table. I know on my paper it's drawn at more of a rectangle, but I don't want to repeat that shape with Judy's, so I'm going to make it a square. Okay. Now, remember, none of my furniture can go past where the door is going to swing. So we don't want Tom to be coming in and go to open that door and it hit the back of his chair. The other thing I want to remember is anything I put on the other side of the sight line is going to disappear for part of the audience. So the corner of my chair is going to, sit on that sight line so that we can see all of it. 2 feet is a 1/2 inch. So there's my chair, back. Now I just come down front. And, make that the best 90-degree angle you can. Oh, that looks pretty good. And here's the front of my chair. Okay, now I need his table. 18 inches is gonna be tight. By the time I put a phone on there, you know, that may actually be too small. So, but we will start with 18 inches. So, part of your scale rule is divided into inches. So, I'm going to start here at the front corner. It needs to make sense why the table is so close to the chair. Would have loved for there to be more lead there. Okay. Now remember, it's been a while for those of you who've done ground plans, because most of you did a ground plan if you were at the old school, the old campus. So check your measurement. Here's my 6 inches, there's my foot. Yeah, I guesstimated that really well. So, you know, if it takes you longer to draft your furniture than it's taking me, cut yourself some slack. You know, this is the second ground plan you've done. This is not the second ground plan I've done. You know, your math teacher who can work those equations really, really quickly in his or her head, same deal. Okay. There it is. Decided that Judy is going to have a round table. So, yeah. This is a bow compass. This is kind of the big brother of, you know, the inexpensive compasses they sell at Walmart and Target at the beginning of the school year. So, diameter is 2 feet, which means radius is 1 foot. So when you're drawing circles, you set it for the radius. You've got a sharp point, and then you've got the lead. And I can sort of cheat with some of the measurements and placement of Tom's furniture. So my lead's too high in my compass. I thought it was low enough. So, and that little pinprick that the compass makes, if you slow down and you have to redraw them, you can find it again. That piece is just not gonna scribe for that part of the circle. Okay, tighten that up nice and tight so the lead doesn't move. And see, compasses, oh, not bad. Would have been better if that had happened all in one swing. So clean up where it got off track. Notice that the compass is a much fatter piece of line than the mechanical pencil is. And that's why I really want you guys to have a mechanical pencil, because you don't have to worry about sharpening them. Okay. Judy's going to have a chaise lounge, which is, you know, either a chaise lounge or a little love seat. Want something a little softer, a little more feminine than a upholstered chair. So I said that it was 18 inches front to back and 3 feet wide. Front of mine should start right about at the front of her table. So, yeah, I need a little bit of space. So I know that the widest part of my table is hitting at that 41 centimeter mark. So I slide this down, and then I'm just going to cheat a little towards center, and then draw a line. That is way more than 3 feet in square, but that's okay. Now, as I said, that's why there are erasers. So, 0 to, let's make it 3/6. That's probably a better measurement. Probably more accurate measurement to actually find in furniture. Now my chaise is close enough that if Judy is sitting here on the chaise, she can reach over and grab the phone when it rings on the table. 18 inches, so now that's 1 foot plus 6. And, that's the other thing. The more you draft, the more you get used to being able to eyeball. Because okay, that's going to be about, this long. And then sometimes you're just off, like I was with that first front measurement for the chaise. It was much longer than it needed to be. Get rid of all my erase marks because I got to work over here on Mama's platform, so I don't want to pull all that eraser up. Okay, table, chair, doors. So Tom and Judy's are finished. We're good. Mama's, I've got my side wall, my back wall, my side wall. I've got an arch over here. Got my front door there. Now, I can do the same thing since I threw this table off center. Since I threw the door off center, rather than keeping everything straight up and down, I can shift the table a little bit this way. Now, remember my sight lines. Now, here my original sight line was for the corner of the theater. Now my new sight line is the corner of Mom's flat, because that's going to affect what this guy can see. So I know that my table, needs to stay, a little towards center. Don't put it all the way on one side of the center line. And my chair, I'm not going to put it right here on the edge. I'm going to shift it in a little bit so I can see him. Ideally, I want Tom and Judy looking full face at the audience when they both sit down at the table. I don't want them to be in profile. Okay, now ovals. I drew an oval for my table. Ovals are pretty. They look great on stage. They let the director move the actors around it so that, we can keep them seen. They are just the dickens to have to draw. So, I want this edge of my table to be 1'6" from my center line. Now, with a 6-foot table, that still gives me 2 feet to the edge of the platform. But you know, I'm gonna make my table only 5 feet long because I want to keep plenty of space for the actors to move. My table should probably be, 3 feet front to back. So 0, line up my 0, 0, 1, 2, 3 feet. Now that's going to be at my widest point. Remember, this is an oval. So now, those of you who are really going to go after the extra credit points, there are probably 10 or 15 YouTube videos that will show you how to scribe an oval with a compass. Okay? I'm not going to worry about that right now. They make oval templates that you can simply trace. So I'm going to freehand this. And it's probably going to be a little rough. The widest point of my table is going to be at 2'6", because that's the middle. So I'm just going to give myself some lines. So that's the widest part of my table. Now, you'll remember in class, I moved the paper as I was drawing my oval. Most of us, our body will draw a nice arc one way. And that dot seems off. I don't think that's actually the halfway point. Nope, it's not. So, like I said, erasers. They're a good thing. Don't be afraid that your work shows that you changed your mind and you tried new things. That's all part of this. So here's the middle of my table. My table's 3 feet wide. That's going to be the middle of my table. So now I need to, as best I can, connect the dots. So I'm going to draw one arch from here. Well, that looks pretty good. And then my next arch. Ooh, that half the table's looking really nice. Spoke too soon. Well, okay. I've got an oval. Those of you who remember when I demoed this in class, that one looked a lot like the cartoon character Arnold from Hey Arnold. My oval's a little less football shaped this time. And then, drawing your chairs. In a traditional house in the real world, those chairs would be here and here, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. But we want the audience to see their faces. So we're going to move those chairs to roughly 1:30 and 10:30. You got to start somewhere, so you need a straight line. Now my chairs are, they're side chairs for a table. So they're not going to be much more than 18 inches square. So 1.5 feet in scale. Yeah, and I'm doing fairly well tonight at drawing 1.5 feet. Bad thing about having so many rulers, you know, you can put one aside and just grab a new one. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some erasing on this one. Now, I don't have anywhere that I can line up and, you know, use my T-square and my compass, a triangle. So, yeah, I did need to measure both of those on the back side. And then just connect the dots. Slide it over the line you just drew, meaning the triangle, and erase. So there's one of my chairs. Now, same thing on this side. Yeah. It's going to be plenty long enough. 1/4 inch. There we go. And erase what we don't need. Okay. I think I'm done with my ruler, on my triangle rather. Okay. Last thing you want to do, once you get your drafting where you like it, you need to put a border around your drafting. Because that's just one of those things. You know, sentences have periods at the end of it. They start with capital letters. That's the way it is. Same thing for drawings or draftings. So, the top of my border has to be above my center line because nothing touches my border. Okay. Now, I get away with that on my top one because I just need to make everything else match it. So, pull out your ruler. Well, that is not sitting on any type of regular measurement. Yeah. 5/6. So, okay, there, I'm sorry, 5/8. There's 4/8, and one more makes 5/8. Come over here to the edge of your paper. Give yourself an ending point. So there is 5/8. And I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. Give myself an ending point, or a starting point, since I tend to draft from left to right. And then use your T-square. Line up your dots. You only need one of them. Make sure your T-square is flush to the corner. And now just draw your center, draw your far side. And then come over here and do the same thing. Now, I know that my measurement here at the bottom is good. I know that my measurement up there at the top could be long. So, there are pull out. Well, actually, we've been using a triangle for an eraser shield. This is what one actually looks like. It's ridiculously thin metal. So, you usually end up buying a lot of them through a drafting class because, they get lost in your book bag and you pull them out and they are never flat once they get bent. You also need to keep it really clean. Remember in our first drawing when we cleaned the rulers? Since you're erasing stuff with this guy right there, they get dirty really quick. My undergraduate design teacher at Mars Hill, Dr. Gray, he would just go nuts if he saw you putting back drafting equipment that you had not cleaned before you left the drafting lab. And he was kind of built like a little compact Yeti. So it wasn't a good idea to get him mad. Now, if you weren't a theater major and you just came by to see what was going on, you could do no wrong. He definitely had a double standard. Okay, I've got my border. I need my title block. Remember, nothing touches your border line. So, title block should be 4 inches wide by 2 inches tall. So I'm just going to start here at 23 and count down to 19. Now I'm going to make a mark at 1 inch from the end that's closest to the center line. Now, this ruler, this triangle rather, also has a ruler printed on it. So, keeping it tight to this T-square, I can use that as my measurement. Now, just going to draw over. And this line is probably where I'm going to end up erasing. So I know that the bottom of my line is good here. Well, I may not end up erasing. Cool, I didn't. Okay. The box gets divided into 5 sections. The first section happens where I made that dot. This is my plate. So think of plate as how many pages are in the book. What page am I reading now? Ground plans are always plate 1. And in this particular book, there's only one page. So this is 1 of 1. Now, I need a couple more measurements. So, I'm going to make a mark at 2. Well, 1. Now, actually, every ½ inch can divide this into 4 sections. Okay, top line. The top line of the title block has the view or the type of drawing. So, this is a ground plan. Okay, a ground plan of what? Well, this is Please Hang Up. So the title of the show. I'm going to put name here. This is the name of the designer, so that should be your name. But, at least one of you as a Tech 1, turned in your drawing with the words your name there, rather than your actual name. So, we'll see if that gets it. Now, my bottom line has the date and the scale. So I need to divide that in half. Check my T-square, make sure that it's still snug to the table. So I'm only made one measurement. So scale. So 1/4 inch equals 1 foot 0 inches. And today's date is the 4th. So 3/4/21. Okay, that's it. This is what we're going for by Sunday evening. Remember, Monday, we're going to build your theater box out of foam core. So you need 2 sheets of foam core for Monday and some glue. Okay, get this finished up, and I will see you all on Monday. Have a good night. Bye.